back to the second episode of the Human Reconnect podcast. Today's topic is going to be all about loneliness and social isolation, which I think can be kind of offensive to us introverts personally. I enjoy that. Okay, but anyway, Amanda is like some kind of loneliness expert or something like that, and she's done some awesome research, and we got to read some cool articles to learn more about that topic. So Amanda, I'm going to let you kind of kick us off here.
Yeah. Hi, everyone, and happy Monday. When we were talking about topics, we thought this would be a great one, right? Because we just talked about connection, why we want to do this podcast, and why we're so excited to just share space with each other. But I think it's a great idea to go back, right? I think all or most humans know what that feeling of loneliness is and feels like. Courtney talked about universality. And I think that's a huge kind of piece of this, of what it feels like in our body to be lonely, to be disconnected, but also the implications of our health, our mental health, our physical health. I think we talked about that a little bit in our first episode. So yeah, girls, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Before we did research, because we know the answer already, but before we did research, what age demographic do you guys feel like was the most lonely?
I'm trying not to stereotype.
I have a few stereotypes running through my head, but I think my gut reaction would have just been the geriatric population because your kids have their own family, their whole own lives now, and then your grandkids too, especially when they become older, life gets busy. I think you just get disconnected even from that immediate support, and then your friends and partners are starting to get sick and to get old, and the circle of life, there's just a lot of loss during that period. So I think you just have less humans in your life because you're becoming older and wiser and you're losing people. So I think that would have been my gut. My other thought is I feel like I have this weird statistic piece of information that's been in my head forever that once men hit a certain age, they stop making friends. And I want to say it's in your 40s or 50s. Again, random fact in my head that I've had for a while that you just kind of stop making friends. So I would say maybe an adult male, more in their 40s or 50s, no longer are really building connection or relationships anymore. Those would have been my guesses, but they're all very biased maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. The male part is just really interesting to me, and I didn't know that. And I've never just to stop making connection. Yeah. I wonder if there's a shift in their needs at that point. Do they think they have enough, so therefore it's not worth it to form bonds? Have they just lived their lives at that point? And they're like, yeah, I'm just here on this universe now.
I don't know. I mean, my dad has had the same friends his whole freaking life, and I wouldn't say he's really added many to them. We've moved a lot. And not that he won't connect, but not friends. Their connections or social acquaintances or because they're my friends' parents or my mom's friends' husbands or something. So I feel like maybe I've seen that in my own life. But I know I heard that fact one time, and I remember just being like, oh my gosh, my dad hasn't made any more friends. He's not going to make any more friends. Little me. So I don't know.
I'm really curious if that stat tracks across single and married men. Because if married men stop making friends, but their spouses or partners continue, how would that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
I totally can see that.
I don't need to make friends. That's what my wife's for. That's what my partner's for. Yeah. And I'd also be curious what that stat looks like in gay couples too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
if they both are social, or if one of them is more social than the other, if they feel supported to get that need met. But I mean, I agree with you, Olivia. My gut thought in response to your question would be, just that older population. And I would say 70 plus. Yeah. Right? Olivia, you were talking about how there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of separation.
Yeah.
We talk about kind of the run of nursing homes and stuff like that, which now, to be fair, that might be forced socialization. Okay. It's kind of hard to be isolated in those settings, but for those that are living out on their own and they are empty nesters, maybe their kids have all moved away.
And you lose the ability to drive sometimes too, which is such a way that we get our needs met.
I always thought it would be so bizarre to hit a point in my life where people are gone because they've died or passed away.
I know.
That's such an interesting concept to me to almost sit and think, oh, well, I've outlived everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would want to.
Yeah, like
I know.
reach out and make more connections.
Yeah.
I mean, both of my grandmothers who passed away last year were in their 90s and had outlived everyone in their lives. So, like, it was insane, like, to see that and to kind of, like, be witness to that of, like, yeah, I've pretty much lost everyone and, like, lived such a full life and got to connect with so many other humans. And I'm 90. Like, I am 90 years old.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, how it changes, like, between romantic relationships and platonic relationships. Because I know my grandma, like, when my grandpa died, she was, like, dedicated to him even after. Like, she never got married. She never wanted to date. But my grandma was, like, the most social human. She had all of her friends in her neighborhood. And growing up, we would always go to her friends' houses. And I really got to know them. And that was beautiful. Yeah.
Awesome.
Before I did research in this, I was really curious about parents because I know I have a really close friend who I've just gone to, like, kind of live through her experience that when you are, like, a first-time parent, how isolating it is. Like, your whole life is dedicated now to taking care of your baby. So it's harder to spend time with friends, even do things that are, like, personal for you, like your hobbies. So I was curious about, like, parents, new-time parents, if there's a piece there.
I wonder how much, like, a big life event or, like, a big life change, because having a baby obviously is this huge life event that we go through, or moving or starting a new job or getting married or whatever it is, going through a divorce, going through a big breakup, either or. I feel like sometimes big life events, like, your life feels so big and heavy, but everyone else's lives just keep going. And I sometimes wonder if, like, those events and circumstances like perpetuate this idea of I'm alone, because some of the universality gets taken, because if none of your friends have had babies yet, we're no longer the same. We have very different experiences now. So now do I feel disconnected? I don't know. That's been something I've been curious about.
And how well do we as humans adapt to other people's life transitions, right? So if I have a kid, are my friends going to be willing to adapt to still include me in things, right? If they're not, then you're absolutely right. I had to find all new connections. You look like you got hit for it.
Well, because I have been thinking so much about what you said about, like, how you want to focus more on pouring connection into others.
Yeah.
Because it is such a thing. Like, I want to be connected. I want others to connect with me, but I have, like, nonstop been thinking about you saying, like, focusing on pouring connection into others. Like, if I want someone to come to my baby shower, I need to go to their wedding shower. Like, and I think you just nailed that on the head again of, like, are our friends making the effort to connect with us in a new way now that we're so different? Because we're having such a different life experience right now. Like, and so are you making the conscious effort? And, like, you've been seeking to understand that friend. So, like, you've got to hear and be witness to that experience. But if you're not willing to witness that, then are we connected anymore?
Right.
Well, no, I've just been thinking about what she said
and the
so
value.
much.
Placing the value on those relationships too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a great question. You know, what ages, and I think it transcends age in so many ways, right? Life transitions. We're all meeting those at different parts. Okay. Someone could be 30 and having their first child. Someone could be 20 and having their first child, or 16. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
if we really
I
want to get there, you know, like, what does that look like? And so, you know, I think trying to narrow that down to an age group is hard because there's just so much beyond just someone's age.
Totally. It kind of makes me think, like, so we are in the United States, and I know, like, in our culture, bringing children to places isn't as, like, accepted, and there are some, what is it? Like, I feel like if it's, like, a bridal shower or a party or a get-together, like, there are sometimes I've heard people say, like, we're not going to bring the kids to this, so now you have to find a babysitter, and you need to find other ways. I think that can be isolating, too, like, if you don't have the resources you need, but you want to be connected to your friends.
Because it's hard to show up for them because you want to respect your friend and their wishes too, right? And so, you know, how do you take care of your child and still show up for them?
Do we feel like this is a newer fad? That it's like, kids are not welcome in these spaces. Don't bring your kids to this. I feel like this is a newer fad. And I don't know if it's my own, like, lens and bias, but I'm wondering how much this is like a newer trend of people being like, we don't want your kids here. We don't want kids here. I mean, my parents took me everywhere.
I was just about to say that same thing. Really? Yeah. My parents drove me it didn't matter where we were at. I was there with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
babysitters
business
weren't even
trips
really
with my dad, and then I was one of the oldest kids, so I'd watch all the other kids on the business trip in the hotel, and we'd get room service and watch some Disney movie, and it was like fabulous. Like it wasn't this like no kids zone. Like where are kids supposed to learn how to function?
My dad took me to his work, and he worked at a plant, like a natural gas plant, and he would take me on the night shifts, me and my older brother, and we'd spend the night at his plant, and he was working.
And like what a core memory though, and like a special memory to be brought into that and to like see what your dad does every day.
Yes, yep, and he'd let us mix chemicals, and now that obviously they were like bleach or something was probably the most
low level
thing.
Low level
chemicals. I mean, it was a whole experience. He made us put on the gloves. He made us walk through the decontamination stuff. So that was magical.
Yeah.
And, as an 8-year-old, I didn't care if it was water that I was pouring. I was like, wow,
I'm a chemist.
Yes, I'm a chemist, and this nuclear reactor is gonna blow up, and it's like, whoa, So, but yeah,
Good to be connected.
Yeah, to be connected, but also my parents took me everywhere. I think that's a newer thing. It's
gotta be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Kids aren't really as accepted anymore. Because I think we've gotten away from, again, how do we adapt to others and still keep them connected versus what's going to make me more comfortable. Right.
Kids connect in such a different way too. Like the playfulness, you're not really thinking, okay, maybe I shouldn't say this because it isn't socially acceptable. That's like one of my favorite things about kids. They say whatever the heck they want to say, and they're just doing whatever they're going to do.
Yeah,
that is harder too.
Yeah. And I think to give weight to the other side of things, I think a lot of the pushback has been too, though, like if I'm not having these big life events, I'm not being celebrated the way that all my friends are. Like the traditional big life events, right? Like if I'm not getting married and I'm not having kids, I am celebrating all these people in my life who are doing these traditional things, but I'm not being celebrated for the 3 job promotions I've had, or writing a book, or starting a podcast, or whatever that is for you. Like your life events are not being celebrated in the same way, which I think comes back to pouring that connection and that support into others, even if it's not the same thing that we're experiencing.
Or even just the traditional sense of
and
celebration.
After doing some research, the age of like the most lonely was between 13 and 17-year-olds, which I think shocked me, but then it really didn't shock me because I remembered what it was to be in middle school and high school and how scary that was. And Olivia, you mentioned something about like technology and how interesting it is that this age that's so connected to like technology and phones is actually the loneliness.
And also the developmental stage that they're in.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hit on that it's that 13 to 17, and then was it 20 to 30? Those were the 2 ages. And I had like written down when I was reading that like developmentally that 15, if you're mature 15-year-old, maybe more 16 to like 17, 18 is like your test run to adulthood. Like you are trying to figure it out. And so I think it makes sense that like I wrote down too, you go from having 0 autonomy to being skyrocketed into like, okay, what do you want to do with your life? What choices are you going to make? How are you going to sustain yourself? How are you going to provide for yourself? Whatever that may be. And so I think it makes sense that like you also are leaving your little nest, like your point of connection. Like this is my nuclear family, or this is who I've lived with my whole life. These are my caregivers and supports. And then you're being asked to finally like officially separate. And obviously it's not immediate. It's more of a process, but I think those are like truly developmental ages where you're trying to figure out who you are, and you're not as connected because you're growing and you're changing. And I also thought about that with the 20s and 30s. Like you're in a job for the first time. People are going through so many different stages of life. Like you might be behind your friends for the first time ever, because before we all went to the same we all hit the same milestones kind of around the same age. And then if you think too, like 13-year-olds, somebody comes one day with boobs and the next day I don't have any. So like I keep coming back to like some of those stages, the universality goes away. And I wonder if that creates loneliness. I feel other, I feel different. So therefore I feel disconnected.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's been floating around in my head a lot.
Yes.
When we've been reading these articles.
Yeah. Like being so connected to family, then it's like, wait, I'm connected to this group of friends, but now I'm changing and my values are changing and I'm becoming a human and developing like who do I want to be in this world? It's a very lonely, I think, task to go through, because it makes you have to maybe separate from some things and grow towards other things.
Or like reject part of your family, like values that your family had, like, and maybe that does create some rift and some loneliness within that. Like, I don't know.
Well, and something I'm thinking about too, kind of just reflecting back on my own middle school experience, but thinking about resources during that stage of life, right? So you're shoved in a school system with all these other kids that are kind of transitioning through puberty at the same time, and it's also isolating, it's also loneliness, but in reality, it actually should be a point of connection because all of you guys are going through all of this together at the same time. But I think maybe for me, where the disconnect happened was, well, so and so had enough money that it doesn't even look like they're going through this, right? Like they could afford the doctors, the birth control, the period products, the working out, the gym memberships, the team sports that they're playing. Like, and maybe it's not money, but maybe just one, environment, and two, involvement, like the support that you got. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do your parents even want to talk to you about that? Do you have a dad who's a single dad and now you're like, what is going on with my body? And dad doesn't know how to talk to me about it. That's a great point. Like, what does our support and resources look like? Go through that.
Yeah, because in middle school, we're all, on average, going through those transitions
very differently.
Very differently. And it's going to look different for each child, but how does your, family support system, environment make that different?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like anything that's to do with puberty, like a relationship with our body. My body looks different. I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore. I can't even recognize myself in the mirror. I have acne. I've never had this. Or my body is gaining weight because of puberty and all of these hormones. It's kind of, I haven't really thought of it that way too. Like how strange it is for us to have a different relationship with ourselves. And then maybe even feeling disconnected from ourselves.
Yeah, disconnected from your body.
And then now our poor teens are not only comparing themselves to the kids in their school, because that's what I was doing, right? Okay, the kids in my class don't look like me. I'm 4 feet taller than all of them. Like, I was the height I am now in 6th grade, and I remember being like, oh my God, I'm a golly green giant over here. And I'm not anymore. I'm like so average.
There's no one else growing.
Whoa. And but now they see millions of kids their age, and it's like they have this 10-step skincare routine and they are on this, or they have these like how much more comparison they are making. And
think about the access to different genetics these kids have now.
I know.
Like, instead of just comparing themselves to a similar gene pool, they're comparing themselves to completely different cultures and different genetic pools, right? So, think about Asian cultures and countries, and golly, now I can't even think, but like South American cultures and countries, right? So they're not just comparing themselves to teens in their classroom, it's teens globally. Yeah. And, are the changes similar? Well, yeah, because we're all human, right? That's part of that universality, okay?
Yes.
But, Asian children might look a lot different than American children going through puberty. And obviously I haven't done that research, so don't take that claim as fact. But there's got to be some kind of difference. And to sit there and be like, well, how come I don't look like her? Or how come I don't look like him?
Yeah. Like, depending on where we are in the world and our, our background, we store fat in different places in our bodies, and we're taller, and there's
our bone structure is different.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And like you even spoke to, like, the support and the resources and the environment that you're going through this in is way different. So yeah, maybe this kiddo who has an amazing skincare routine's mom is an esthetician, and so it was just like it was easy.
Genetics where they don't get as much.
And they had the resources to know at an early age how to start doing that because someone was there to teach it to them. And now you're on TikTok trying to do some skincare routine that's not going to apply to your skin or the texture of your skin, or is your skin dry or oily, or what do you need? Like, I just think it's information overload for them during this time too.
Well, and another example, just to kind of piggyback off of that, was my brother-in-law. His mom works for a dermatologist's office. So he, as soon as the treatment was released, he got it, and that kid has not had acne.
Yeah.
Because he got it as soon as they were like, we're doing a trial run. We want your kid to be the one that we put through it. And he's like, well, yeah, if it means I don't have acne, sign me up. Right?
Yeah,
like,
not?
what 13, 14, 15-year-old wouldn't do that? And so they signed up. And as far as I know, his skincare is great. And his quality of skin is
flawless.
Right? I'm like, okay, so that's not everyone's experience. Like, some of us had to have the acne. Some of us had cystic acne, right?
Yeah.
So it just is, And how does that create that further disconnect between kids? So
like seeing things on the surface but not having the information to say like these are the resources that they have, or this is biological to them.
Yeah.
Just so much more comparison for them to do, or they're comparing themselves to somebody who's 26 years old, and it's like you've got 13 years until you're there, and like that's probably not what it looked like for them. So I think that's interesting too.
And we've been talking a lot about, loneliness and social isolation, and Amanda, that was something that your articles were talking about. Is there's a difference between those two concepts, right? So there's social isolation, and then there's loneliness. And so social disconnection is the objective state of having few roles, relationships, and social interactions with others. Loneliness is a form of social disconnection. So it's a negative, subjective emotional state resulting from a discrepancy between one's desired and actual experience of connection. So just reading that, my thoughts immediately went to, so loneliness is one subjective because it's an emotional state, right? So that's going to be different across each person. But also, it's a discrepancy between one's desired and actual experience of connection. And we were talking a little bit about introversion, right?
Yeah.
And I made the joke. And so I'm curious because that makes me think introverts are going to have less rates of loneliness because their desired level of connection and their actual level of connection might be closer than extroverts who are disconnected. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we have different levels of need for connection. So an introvert might have a lower level of need for connection, and so therefore they may not feel loneliness as much because their desired level of connection and their actual level of connection are close.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was trying to think of a way to differentiate them. So social isolation would be, not having access to going to school. So maybe you are kind of isolated in your home environment. Maybe you live in a place where the easiest grocery store to get to is an hour away. And then this the isolation part, or the loneliness part rather, would be I desire to spend time with my friends, and yet I'm having a hard time connecting with them or making plans, or I want to be a part of a sports club, but I don't have access to get there. My parents can't pick me up and drive me because I had no idea that there were two kind of separate areas, but it totally makes sense now.
Yeah. I feel like loneliness is kind of that. What is your connection requirement? I talked to the kids today about what's your hug requirement? Do you like physical touch? Do you not? We all have different hug requirements. We all have different body boundaries, but I think connection is the same thing. What is your connection requirement? When does your cup feel fulfilled, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And so I think if you're someone who needs a ton of social connection, then loneliness is going to probably be an emotion maybe you feel more often because you're perceiving my cup is not being filled enough. Where an introvert, their connection requirement might be slim to none, or I just need to connect with my partner at night and say goodnight and hear about their day, and that's enough to fulfill my cup.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like introversion, extroversion, is it more temperament? Do you think it's learned? I'm curious.
I think it's more a facet of personality. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of research currently about the Big Five, the 5-factor model of personality. And so I actually worked under a professor who that was her bread and butter, was personality and developmental psychology. And so, she used the Big 5-factor model for all of her research. That's just what we went with. And you can actually take that test. It's a personality test that you can take. It's a 300 question.
I was gonna ask how many.
It's so obscene, but it's so comprehensive.
Yeah.
It's big, it's beautiful, and it is amazing at measuring facets of personality. And they measure it. Extroversion and introversion are facets of those personalities. It's one of the 5 factors. Okay. And so that's how I feel about it. I think it's a trait that is pretty consistent, that goes with that part of the personality, if that makes sense. And so with that, personality research shows that personality is pretty stable over time. And there might be some dissonance with that belief. I'm not sure. I haven't read up on the most recent research, But they show that personality traits tend to remain pretty stable over time. Now there's some shifts. Okay, so you might become
I 100% am
slightly,
bought into that.
yeah. So there might be like you might be super conscientious in your, all the way up through your working career, but then when you turn 65 or you retire, you might have a slight decrease in conscientiousness because you're not,
having to use that
having to
as
use
much,
it, right? Or it might not be as much of a priority in your personality. So there are some shifts, but in theory, the idea is that you've got this rank order, and you'll stay within your rank for that personality trait as you get older, which is really, so openness is another factor. How open are you to new experiences? And that's a big part of connection,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
If you're not open to trying new things and meeting new people, you're not gonna,
you'll stay in your bubble.
you're not gonna have those connections, those experiences. And so, but openness actually decreases over time because as you get older, you've got your friends. You were talking about that earlier, right? Like, he's not thinking, I don't need to go skydiving.
If he's listening to this, he's like, left. I'm happy. Like, put me on the boat, isolated by myself. I'm good to go.
Like, Dad knows.
Yeah.
He's
good. He's content.
So he might not be as open to those things. But if your dad is a generally open person, he's still going to be high in that trait, in that personality factor.
But you're like the perfect person to ask about this. That was so cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so bought into. I think I am starting to believe as a human more and more that nature, I used to think it was more nurture, less nature. I'm thinking we're close to 50-50.
Yes, I could see that.
I mean, I think nurture has a big impact, right? Like our environment, our research, we just talked about that. But I do think there is a strong, this is my personality and this is my temperament and I came out this way. I don't know how much that can really be changed. I really do believe we probably, a lot of those ingrained traits stay pretty consistent over our lifespan.
And I think something else to go with that too is our personality might stay pretty consistent, but our behaviors and how we learn to manifest
of
that
course,
personality,
yes,
right? So that I think that would encompass that nurture part. If you're highly neurotic and you have parents that don't teach you how to regulate that side of your personality, and you learn to, become more borderline or histrionic in those personality traits, then you've got a bigger issue, right?
Yeah.
Then we can target that in treatment. We can kind of change those behaviors.
Yeah, and I think my belief is there's no good or bad temperament. There's no good or bad personality. There's no good or bad if you're introverted or extroverted. It's how we manage ourselves in this world. And I always use the inside out when anxiety is running that control board. I truly believe it's our job to manage our control board and to manage those emotions, those parts, our temperament, our personality, whatever. We need to learn and become self-aware enough to manage our parts so we are not negatively impacting others around us. That's kind of, I think, my very simple core belief of that. And I think something a weird aha moment I had was when I learned either in my undergrad or grad school that being introverted is not necessarily that I don't like talking to other people. I'm not outgoing. I'm not good at being social. It's just that I am not recharged being social. And I think there's that big misconception of if you're introverted, you just don't want to be around people. You don't like being around people. But I think it's really just that is not how you recharge. That's not how you feel re-energized. Where an extrovert is energized by being around others. Because I am super outgoing and I love people, but to truly recharge and re-energize, I need to be alone. So I think I've learned more and more how much I value that time in order to enjoy my social connection. Because if I'm not re-energized and I haven't had any moments to myself, then the social connection just doesn't feel the same to me. So I think that was a big epiphany that I had at a later life of just oh, that is making some sense in my head. That was a misconception I had. So I thought that might be helpful for some other people to hear.
And I can't imagine going through those teenage years before you really know yourself. You're wow, I love spending time with friends, but at the end I feel I'm dead on the inside. Where I'm so exhausted. And I think it's just as we get older and we get into the 20s and the 30s, I feel even past then you start to really get to know yourself and what you need. I can imagine my body's changing and I don't know what's going on and I want to create new connections and I want to push some other connections away.
while we're on the topic of trying to differentiate like loneliness and social isolation, I read in our research that loneliness is a binary trait. And I had a lot of question marks around it, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. And essentially what that was saying is that you're either lonely or you're not. Like there's no, and emotions for me.
Oh, see? But how does that?
With that. But it said loneliness is a binary trait. You're either lonely or not. And I guess that means your requirement for connection is either being met or it's not. Point blank period. I described it earlier as like loneliness is the emotion. That's kind of always how I've taken loneliness, is that's an emotion.
No, I totally
which
agree.
to me then is not a binary trait, because it can be a scale of how lonely I feel. Like the intensity can be different for me. I see your face. I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm just thinking though, because emotions, if you think about it, you're either angry or you're
but mixed
not.
Emotions, because I could be like angry, sad, confused. I could be lonely, overwhelmed.
So I'm not saying that you can't have multiple, but I'm saying anger is either present or it's not present. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in that sense, it would be binary, because even if you're 2% angry, you're angry.
Okay.
So it's still present. I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
The scale, the intensity is there, yes. But loneliness is a binary trait. Any emotion, you're either feeling not lonely or you're feeling lonely, right?
Yeah.
And maybe if it's like chronic loneliness, there are these things that we do to try to mitigate it, where it goes away just for like a little bit. So it could be I'm using technology, I'm using social media to try to fill that void, or I'm going out and I'm going to the party, but do I really feel like that's fully filling that need for connection? Like I wonder if that is a piece of it. It's not that the loneliness is gone, it's just gone for a moment, and we find those things to.
Yeah, but then I'm also sitting here thinking, Olivia, you're right. It is a scale.
Yeah.
Because you can be 2% lonely, and that's not going to be detrimental on your life.
No,
right? It might not even make you do anything to change that. You're just 2% lonely.
Yeah.
Or now if you're 98%, that's drastically different.
And then you talk to chronic. Like, is it chronic loneliness, or is it I'm a new parent and I feel super isolated and lonely right now? And of course you do, because what a big life change. So like to me, can it really be you're lonely or you're not? And perceived loneliness. Am I perceiving myself as alone in this journey?
Or
because I just had it
alone?
Or like, are you lonely? Like, I don't know. That one got my brain going.
And that might be the difference between social isolation and loneliness. Loneliness is it's subjective, right? So each person. So are you perceiving that you're actually alone versus social isolation is you are alone?
Yeah. Like I'm on top of a mountain by myself.
Right. Okay. You have no access to resources. You are socially isolated. That might be more of an objective identifier versus loneliness, because you can feel lonely and have 30 people supporting you. Yeah. But if they're not supporting you in the way that you need,
that connection requirement isn't being met.
And you're still going to have the emotion of loneliness because it's subjective.
You're lonely or you're not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
It makes me think of like when you first get into relationships and your parents or your friends are like trying to give you advice. They're like, don't make your relationship everything. Like you can't just get all your needs met. So I wonder if it's like that. Yeah, it's hard because I feel.
My husband is everything.
He's my whole world.
Sorry, guys. I like you, but my husband is gonna be. Yeah.
That's you didn't ask your husband to do this.
Oh, that's so fair. Help me out like that.
So I wonder if that's it. Like they may fit so many of our boxes, but like I don't know, the connection I get like with other like women is just uncomparable. I feel like, and my husband is my favorite human in this whole world. So I wonder if it's like I can be lonely when in my friend category, but I feel like my needs are met with my family and relationship category. So I wonder if it's just that kind of
like it's not binary. It's not binary. I'm not buying into this idea. No. What were you saying about your fabulous husband?
I was just gonna say my husband's not gonna meet my need of sitting here for an hour just chatting
about loneliness. Absolutely not.
Right? He is probably thinking that is the exact opposite of anything that I want to do. Right? But he fills my cup in other ways. I'm glad you said that. I think that's why multiple connections are so crucial to combating loneliness. Yes. You could have one person be your ride or die, but by golly, if there's one need that's not being met, you can feel lonely, right?
I feel like on like another page, but similar page, I remember like learning about this in foster care world when we worked in foster care worlds, was like just having one person. So let's just say that there's a lot of chaos happening in their home, in their family, but having one person, if it's like a teacher or a coach or a mentor, made the difference. Like it made the difference to
you
their
gotta
mental
start
health.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Because if you are isolated or lonely, even one person. Go ahead. What do you got?
No, I think I had this like click of like our kiddos in foster care were in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
So they were isolated. They were lonely. They were literally removed.
They would be
from
uprooted consistently. Like,
so
connections destroyed,
isolated. That like how lonely. And then I thought about the survival. Like the reason people started to connect is we're better with numbers. So even one person is better than me being alone. And then you keep adding. So I think I had that moment of like, I think isolation is like, you are isolated or you are not. You can be isolated in different areas, different ways. But I think then one person does make all the difference because I would rather be with someone else than by myself on the top of the mountain alone. Like at least someone else is there to help me or give me ideas.
Does that like remind you of middle school? Because I feel like hearing that, like there are these times where like we're changing, we're trying to make these new connections. I remember there are times where I was like, I would much rather have this friend than no friend. And I was connecting in ways that maybe were healthy for me or always like really fitting my needs or my personality or the kind of connection I wanted. That's like all that reminded me of that.
So interesting that you said that because I had a really big move going into 6th grade. And all the adults in my life and a lot of people around me very beautifully framed it for me. Well, everyone's new. No one knows each other. All these elementary schools are coming together. And I actually was like, no, I want to be the new girl because people try to connect with the new person. You're interesting. It allowed me to make connections quicker. Where instead, right? Like you remember that. The new kid came in, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to talk to them. I want to be friends with them. But instead, I came into this new school with all these kids who were trying to connect and find new people. And they just thought I was another kid from a different elementary school. So no one was seeking to create friendships with me or connection because to their knowledge, I had a group of friends from my old elementary school.
Because you came in with a group of them.
Yeah.
Just yourself.
Where I think people tend to, at least in the area I grew up in, like when someone was new, people did try to at least make friends with them when they first started. Or, hey, you can come sit. Like there was some sort of like people knew you were new and try to initiate that or teachers did. And so I think that was a big thing for me in middle school is like, it was lonely, just like kind of floating out in outer space. Wish I made friends and I made connections and I got through middle school. It wasn't a big deal, but yes, middle school was an awkward time.
So Olivia, you were talking a little bit, you were talking about survival mode and how kids in foster care, sorry, I'm kind of backtracking.
No, that's fine.
But, so the article that talks about loneliness being binary is the evolution of social connection as a basic human need. And touched on that last podcast or last episode talking about how connection is a human need. And so I think it's anthropologist Robin Dunbar, right? He, or was it she? I feel like I should know that. Anyway, Robin was talking, they made a point in that article about how survival was based on connection.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not just human species. That's probably most species across the board. If you are a single single ant, single monkey, single human, single whale, your chances of survival aren't going to be very good. And so talking about like the middle school, finding those groups.
Pack mentality, baby.
Yes, pack mentality. In that article, it talks about how the bigger the group, the bigger the brain.
I know.
And so,
which is so cool.
Yes,
I love that.
Yeah. So, and I think, Amanda, you had kind of an interesting point to that, we do have the bigger brains.
We do. We got to adapt because we adapted to, I think the social system is such a complex system. I think it almost reminds me of like in neurodivergence, how there's that piece of the social connection, of picking up on social cues, on verbally connecting, on using body language. That's complex. Like there's a lot of pieces to that. So it makes a lot of sense that our brains got bigger, and I think their development are across the board bigger than other animals because we have that social system.
And then when we think of anyone who's other than the pack, right? Like if I'm just pack mentality. If you're other, you're different from the pack, like your rates of surviving go down. And in today's society now, like mental health, your mental health is at such a higher risk. Doing risky behaviors, substance use, all that goes up for people who are other from the pack, because that is where survival happens.
Yeah. It's really hard to go against the grain.
It is.
Because it is still, I think, less so today than what it has been in the past, because I think nowadays there are support and resources, even for those that are outliers, if you will. But it's still isolating.
It is.
And it is still really hard to thrive being that disconnected from kind of your main.
And that's why having those communities is so important.
Yeah.
Right?
Finding people that you fit in with.
Yeah. Like having that community, finding your niche, your community. And there still needs to be so many more resources. Like, just to name that, for people who are brave enough to be other or to go against the pack. Right? There still needs to be that. There needs to be more resources and community and connection for those people.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that social media has provided. Like, I play this video game every weekend or whatever, and I connect with people who understand my interest.
You want to share what video?
Oh, no. I'm speaking I'm not out here gaming.
I was like so shocked. I was like, Olivia, there's no way you've never talked about this video game.
No, I'm very open, so you would know.
Can I speak?
Yeah, please.
So my husband was in the military, so we were long distance for, I think, 2 to 3 years of our relationship in the beginning, and we used video games as a way to connect. So we played Minecraft together, and it was so much fun. And I know that he connects with his friends, and he has, because he's in the military, he has friends like all over the country, and that's the way that they connect. They like join together after work and they play. They're playing Baldur's Gate right now, if anyone knows what that is. And it's so fun. It's such a cool way. Like, I cannot dog. I am more negative on technology, but that is like such a gift that was given to their friend group, like staying connected like that.
And to kind of go back to what you were saying, Olivia, a little bit, is even in today's society, like culture and across the world, we still have universality. Because think about it. Even we were talking about outliers, people who are different from the core pack, if you will.
Yeah.
Right? They still have communities. And a lot of that is bridged by technology.
Yeah.
You know, there's online forums, Reddit threads, Discords, right? And so with that, finding that community, because military is probably a great example about this, is you are in an environment where you're with your team or squad,
through thick and thin.
Yeah, through thick and thin. And whatever the correct terminology for that is. You know, I mean, and you are with them for how long?
I mean,
and I know it varies, but like, let's say you do 3 tours with the same people, and your life depends on them.
Yeah.
And their lives depend on you. And then, boom, disperse. Right? Because they live all over the countries. They're not going back to
I got like full body chills when you said that, though.
Yeah.
Like, what an impact.
Right. I mean, to be that interconnected, and without technology, I mean, think about how isolating that would be for military families.
I like don't want to speak on my husband's experience, but I think that was something that they could really connect on, is when they are so excited to get back together in person. So they do like a yearly trip where they'll go snowboarding together.
That's incredible.
And his mood,
died this trip.
and he did, yeah.
He did literally die this trip.
Oh my gosh,
poor guy.
Yeah.
The energy he comes back with, the connection that he feels. I mean, it is the most beautiful thing ever.
That requirement is met. Like, someone who goes to, and that's military is like its whole other own beast, though, because like you're also being disconnected from the connections that you've had forever, and now having to like reconnect with these, which deepens our connection, because we all miss the people that we have been connected to our whole lives, or for X amount of time. And so that's a whole nother monster, which I'm sure we could do a whole episode talking about military and connection and those families and the community. I think it just all goes back to like, we all need that community and that universality. I'm not going to stop thinking about universality. I know, it's just,
and finding ways to connect, even with those that are outliers within our own subgroups, right? So that's a big one. Right now, we love the subgroups. We love not really cliques, but those communities. And I think sometimes we get so absorbed in them that we forget that we can connect and that we don't have to feel lonely outside of them. So, I think it's really hard for us to kind of remember I still have things in common with people that are complete opposite of me,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because I'm still human and I can still find a way to connect with them so that neither of us are lonely or neither of us are socially isolated. And I think our culture does a pretty good job at telling us be who you want to be, don't think about anybody else. And there is some merit in that, but then at what point does it cut you off? And at what point does it become socially isolating? And loneliness?
There's like something so beautiful in being able to have a conversation with someone with a totally different view and just respect each other and see each other. It's gone so much harder, but like if it's politics or religion or, you know, any of those more controversial topics, it feels good to have a conversation where we disagree, but we are just allowing ourselves, just talking, being human. I miss that and I want more of it.
I had a professor say to me, you can't change what people believe to be true. And that just shifted a lot for me of like, I can't change, but I can listen. I can witness your experience. I can hear why you believe that. It's not your fault that you were born and raised in the deep South and I was born and raised in Philly. We're gonna have different beliefs. We're gonna believe different things to be true because we experience different things. We were taught different values, but like I can still learn something from you. I can still understand you and understand why you believe those things. I don't need to change my beliefs. You don't need to change yours. But I can hear them, right? Like, and him saying that to me, I'll just like never forget. He was like, you can't change what people believe to be true. So why not connect and just hear why they believe that? Try to seek to understand them. I talked to the kids today about like a daily practice that's proven to increase our happiness and health is having someone witness our experiences. Telling a story. Storytelling has been the way that people communicated and history was passed down through stories. Like having someone witness your story. So just listening. I don't have to change their beliefs. I don't have to change what they don't have to join my pack. They can stay in their pack and in their beliefs. And so I think that is something that once I kind of shifted that, then I got to connect in so many different ways, which was really cool. And I love what you talked about like the beauty of different relationships can fill different cups. It might just be the friend that teaches you a lot about religion and that's not your thing, or the friend that knows a lot about politics, so you learn a lot from them, or, you know, this person loves trivia and so do I. So that's what we connect on. But other than that, we're like super opposite humans, whatever that is. Like there's so much beauty in just finding like, this is where we connect. This is our point of connection. And that's like where that requirement can be met for me.
I would like love a challenge this week to be like noticing those moments where we like feel that pack mentality of the way I keep myself safe is I stay within my beliefs and my group and my pack. And I think being more open to maybe something that I normally am very closed off to, like that's inspiring me.
And I think along with that is just knowing understanding someone does not mean changing yourself.
No, it doesn't.
No.
You don't have to sacrifice your beliefs, your opinions, your thoughts, your knowledge to understand others. And I think sometimes we get caught up in that. So, you know, and I love the idea of that challenge of, you know, just this week trying to understand people. You know? And realizing that you can understand where someone has been and you can relate to someone without changing yourself or without feeling attacked. Because I think sometimes we're so sensitive to feeling attacked that we are always on defense. And that blocks a lot of connection. And before we know it, we're lonely and we're isolated. So,
and our research says like connection is like almost a reflex. Like our brain wants to be social. It wants to connect. It wants to learn. It wants to take in more information. It wants to understand the world so we can. But if you're not willing to seek to understand, you're not going to be able to connect in this world or survive in it. So what did connection look like for you guys this week?
So my challenge was to show up for others. And I think for me, something that I enjoyed doing was, so I actually traveled back home to be with my grandpa for his 85th birthday. And I'm going to be honest, there were points where I didn't want to because it was going to be a quick one-day trip, right? I went up one night, had a full day, and then come back. And I really had to justify, unfortunately, going up there for my grandpa. But I did it, and I had fun, and I got to see him. And I feel connected to him, and he's someone that has played a big role in my life, and I've loved him from the very beginning. So, getting to be there and to see him was just, that really filled my cup, and I wouldn't have got my cup filled had I chosen not to. And so, but I wanted to show up, right? If I want him to show up to my birthday party, I got to be there for his.
Fair enough.
So yeah,
Yep.
it felt great, and
awesome.
I will have that memory, and I got to celebrate that day with him.
Like you're speaking to, it doesn't mean that like you weren't tired and you didn't have a really long week.
Yeah.
But just being there in that moment, like I think sometimes that sacrifice is worth it 100%.
Oh,
like I could be as
100%.
tired, but just being there with that person and being there
Makes
to
it all worth
celebrate
it.
them, like those are just the most beautiful moments. You always have to be 100% to show up to some or for someone.
Yeah.
And I love that you named that, because both can be true.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Did your challenges go?
Good. I do like hot cycle class like early in the morning pretty often. I'm in there.
Ooh, so swift.
Oh yeah. But I'm in there with the same girl pretty much every time. She must go daily, so shout out to her. She's awesome.
Yeah.
But she like asked me a really simple question at 5 a.m. I think she was like, "Oh, is your friend coming today?" Because I go with my little sister. And I was like, "Actually, it's my little sister that always comes with me."
Yeah.
And her and I talked the entire 30 minutes that we were in there, and we had the best conversation. And she no, Courtney, I'm in really good shape.
Right.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm on the floor.
I'm kidding. But she did a lot of the talking. And I got to like hear about how she's in law school and she wants to do
Oh, cool.
family law.
Mhm.
And her and I were just like so attuned and had so many similar interests. And I would have like never known that if she didn't ask me about my sister. And then it just
She
like
saw you.
she did it. Yeah. Like, and that made me after reflect on a lot about what you said about seeking to connect. Like she made the effort. So then I went thrifting this Friday. And typically when I thrift, I get into the zone. It's not a time
Understandable.
I am
Yeah,
like,
it's very serious.
yes, but I was there on Friday after doing my community day, and I was like, there's just two fabulous old women in there, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go up and talk to them and like see where it goes. And this one lady ended up walking me around the entire store looking for my brooches that I'm thrifting for the wedding, and like walked me to every counter, every piece, and then I ended up getting to see like and hear about her love story with her husband and all about their wedding day and the fabulous jumpsuit that she wore down and then at the end, like,
I'm sick that you got to do that and not me.
Yes,
It was beautiful. Awesome. That's awesome.
And then at the end, she's like, we've been married for, I think their 65th anniversary was coming up. Yes.
Way.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
way.
And then at the end, like, not to make it, she's like, and now he has dementia. And like, she got to share his story though. And like, I think it was a way for her to connect with him too, right? Like I can share our story with someone else and have someone else witness that because that, I think about that population a lot. Like they're starting to be disconnected because of his health, not for any other reason. And like is part of life, unfortunately. But like, it was just this cool experience of like, typically I would have been annoyed and been like, I just want to walk around the store. I'm going to find the stuff that I want. Leave me alone. Yep. And I had moments where I kind of was like, starting and I was like, no, like this is just a moment that I get to like be with her and pour into her, right? Because it wasn't necessarily all about my connection or my wedding or her pouring or filling my but I got to like pour into her, and at the end it was like very fulfilling to be like she got to share about her fabulous husband that she loves and is still so in love with.
That's
which
me. I'm gonna
how encouraging is that to see someone who is still so in love with their partner 65 later. She also told me you used to have to get blood work done before you got married, and she was like terrified of needles. Blood work. Am I missing a step on my wedding to do?
But I just context.
Yeah, but I got to learn so much, and it was a really cool experience.
Those like moments of vulnerability are the most precious things.
Yes,
like just being with someone's story, and like that is really vulnerable to say. Like now he has dementia, and being those emotions, like that is beautiful.
Yeah. You probably helped her feel not lonely that day.
I hope so.
Which is really cool.
And super connected and show me around the store and things that she's passed around. And I found some amazing brooches because of this fabulous woman. So I appreciate that too. My neighbors has been the hardest one. I said hello to someone who was by the fence.
Someone? You don't even know if they
No, I don't even know if they were my neighbors. No, I don't know.
So you failed.
I failed. So my dog Hazel is like barking like crazy, and I walk out and I'm like, hey guys, so sorry. Hi. And they're
not
like,
one of those.
Yes. And they're like, no worries. And I'm like, I don't know if this is your house because you're not in the house. You're on the other side of the fence just staring at the, like, I wasn't really sure what was going on. And I have been thinking a lot. I'm like, I don't know if I feel ready or ready to be so vulnerable to go knock on my neighbor's door and drop something off. So it's a continuous goal that I will continue to update everyone on, and they can hold me accountable for. But I got home Monday night after we had filmed the podcast, and I was like, am I really gonna have to bake cookies or knock on my neighbor's door or something? I was hoping they would just be like outside and I could be like, hi, I'm Olivia. That would be my
That's too easy.
I know it's too easy. I'm scared to get.
All right, so we'll check back in on you.
Yes.
Amanda, what about you? How's your challenge this week?
It was good. So we have this like local Korean restaurant that's near us, and I try to go like every Monday, and I love the server. She seemed so sweet. It was just so easy to talk to her. So this was a challenge a few weeks ago. Like, I had reached out to her, and I just wanted to connect and make a new friend. And I was there eating with Olivia, and she came up to me and she's like, hey, I feel like you know how to knit. You know how to knit. Can you help me?
You do get those vibes.
Thank you.
You do get those vibes.
Which is such a compliment. And I listened. I was like, okay, maybe she's trying to connect with me.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't know how to knit. I would love to learn. And when I went back to the restaurant the last time, I was like, hey, we should go to a knitting club or class together. We did that last Thursday, and it was lovely.
Oh.
We walked it. First, I was really nervous, and we got some boba tea beforehand. And I was telling her, I was like, I'm nervous. What if we just don't go? I'm having a great time talking to you. And it was awesome. She really pushed me. She's like, let's go. If you need help talking, I've got you. But let's go and like push ourselves to go and do something brand new. So we went to this knitting club, and we walked in, and there were a bunch of like 50, 60, and 7-year-old women. And
I love
was
it.
the best time.
Awesome.
I don't get to spend time with like our older populations pretty much ever. It was such a joy. They were so open and accommodating, and it was so easy to talk to. And those people, they know themselves. They are just it was a breeze, and I got to
They're confident.
They're so confident. I love that piece, and just made us feel so welcomed and so seen. And it was also cool to like get to ask them. I got to ask someone like, how long you been knitting for? And she's like, 25 years. And I'm like, okay. I give myself grace, and also see like how cool that is to like have a hobby for so long and be so dedicated to it. So I feel like I went on a whole adventure.
You did.
And I'm gonna go back.
You went on a quest. You went on a journey,
and it was so fun. And I have a really hard time doing new things, so I give up very easily. So I think it's going to be cool to keep this going and do it with a person. I think that's very motivating. So me and my new friend, we're going to go to knitting club together, and I'm knitting a scarf.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it will be special because you're connecting with someone, and I think that will keep you going. Because I don't see you as someone who gives up easily, but I see you a lot of times when like connection is the focus of what we do. It's the focus of our work. So I feel like when it comes to that, you don't give up. The
connection will be easy. I think it's more like learning how to knit.
The skill.
My brain was hurting. So if you guys knit out there, you guys are
throw us some tips.
Please do. It's a whole brain science.
I won't be knitting. Amanda can.
Yeah,
really?
I got
you. You look like somebody who'd be like knitting by the swamp in her moo out in her rocker.
Yeah, just give
yourself
yourself 20
years.
years.
Having a bonfire, or like burning my trash in my moo out by the swamp. I
got the burn pile going today. If you want
a swampy porch. No, I'll be playing with veggies or something. I don't know what like green beans, like maybe stuff and stuff.
Shucking some corn.
Yes, there you go. Shucking some corn. Yeah, forgetting it.
We have a new challenge for our listeners. Do we have any ideas?
We said one.
Do we want to stick with that one? So
what was it?
It was challenging ourselves to listen to a viewpoint that we may not normally want to listen to.
Yes,
I think
I like that.
It's kind of cool. It's not like directly about loneliness, but I think that could be filling someone else's cup. Like, I hear you. I may not agree with you, but I want to listen to your story. I want to listen to your side. And my goal is not to fight, because sometimes our goal is to fight.
Yes, to prove you wrong,
exactly.
but it's not that.
Not to fight, but to listen, to understand, and to connect with
to
someone.
witness someone else's story.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's our goal.
Great challenge. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
As always, please remember, you are someone's human connection, and you are never alone. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis or emergency, please call 988, 911, or a crisis response unit in your area. Disclaimer: the thoughts, opinions, and topics discussed in this podcast are not intended for mental health treatment, service, or diagnostic purposes. All opinions expressed are solely those of the host, co-host, and guests. Resources mentioned can be found in the written show notes. Thanks again for tuning in to the Human Reconnect podcast.